everybody. It is day dose of the Chord Mojo experience. Yes, the Chord Mojo experience. And today we are comparing the Mojo with the JDS Labs Element DAC amp, which is one of my favorite. Well, they're all my favorite. Let's be honest. I like all of them. And they get dusty every once in a while, and I gotta, I'm sitting here and I have to wipe them clean. And we're going to do the sound comparison. We are today actually going to use Tidal. If you can see, can you see Tidal? Yeah, that's right there. There it is. We're using Tidal, and we are going to use MQA quality. Master Quality Authenticated Audio. We're going to use MQA audio, and on Tidal, they actually have an MQA playlist, and you can go in and you can find, not a playlist, but a whole section. You can go in and you can find all the various albums that has MQA encoding. And hopefully that will be the best way for people to stop bothering me and saying you didn't listen to it in the right way. Fine, we'll listen to it in the right way. Right way. Today we are not going to use the Neumann NDH20 because that pair of headphones is not good for critical listening. Instead, we're going to use their much cheaper rivals, the NAD. What was this? HD50? HP50. NAD HP50. Much cheaper and much better sounding, cleaner, clearer, more precise sounding headphones than the NDH20, which go for $500, $400. What is it? $500 or $400, something like that. So we'll do that today. Let's get on with it, shall we? I currently have the Mojo plugged into the USB for my computer and also being charged by my juice box. And do you guys want this on high brightness? Look at that. Now it's real bright. Yeah, it is. Look at that thing. I'm going to bring it down to normal brightness. No need to have that bright. So one of the things about the Chord Mojo is that if you set the brightness to high brightness, it should remember that the next time you turn it back on. At least that's what the instructions say. I haven't bothered testing that out, but maybe that's true. Okay, let's get things started. Let's start with the Mojo, and let's pick one of these. And this is going to be a little different because these are not my songs. We're going to discover this together. How about some Prince? You want to start with some Prince? Why not? Let's start with some Prince. How about 100 miles per hour? Let's do that. Ready? Here we go. And it says master right here. Right there. It says master. I'm going to increase the volume. The volume is very loud, and on the Mojo, it's pinkish hue. Whatever volume that is. Pinkish hue. So as the song actually starts ramping up around 20 seconds in, there's breathing, like gasping, and because it's a Prince song, so there must be gasping, and it's a very sexualized song, as all of Prince's songs are. There's gasping involved, and then there's this kind of wind instrument of some sort on the right ear cup. It's very clear. Let's go back to about 25 seconds, and let's start from there, from 25 seconds to about 50 seconds, and let's listen to that portion alone and compare with the JDS. Here we go. Yeah, very clear, breathing and the wind instrument and the guitar. It just it's just very clean and precise. Let's switch to the JDS Labs, and here we go. Honestly, that small portion, that 25-second portion, I don't hear any difference between the Mojo and the JDS Labs. That's a good thing for the Mojo. Clearly, that's a very good thing for the Mojo. The tonality is the same. I don't hear any distortion from either of these two. And as I said before, when I was comparing the JDS with the THX, the JDS is an exceptionally clear sounding DAC amp, and even here it sounds really good. Now, as far as the volume is concerned, now I said this is pinkish hue, whatever volume pinkish hue is. On the JDS Labs, it's just about 8 o'clock, I would say. And that's just about the equal volume. So JDS Labs goes from 6 o'clock, which is no volume, to, you know, about, I don't know, what o'clock is that? Maybe 4 o'clock at max? And at 8 o'clock-ish, it's about equal to 2 pinkish hues. So we're learning new things here, what pinkish hues mean in volume. All right, so let's skip ahead to the middle of the song to 146. I have the JDS Labs currently plugged in. Let's keep going. Okay, so from 145 all to about 2 minutes, there's some drums, there's some guitar, and then there's Prince with his backup vocalist. Now Prince and his vocalist sound very much step back, like 2 or 3 steps well behind and much more suppressed than the instruments. In fact, the vocals sound like they were recorded in a bathroom compared to the other stuff. And that's a really strange sound because I wouldn't expect that. Let me play it again on the JDS, then I'll skip back and switch to the Mojo. Yeah, so step back, the instruments are louder on either end. So if you imagine this, like here are the vocalists, and the vocalists are right here. The instruments are like right here, and this is the front of the stage. So the instruments are actually closer to the audience than the vocalists seem. Does that make sense? So if you and I, as my viewpoint here, if we are the audience and we're looking at the stage, the vocalists are here, the instruments are here. That's how it's being presented. Now clearly, if it's a real stage, Prince is going to be front and center and well ahead of all the instruments, but the way that this sound comes out, the vocalists are a step back. Let's switch to the Mojo. And here we go. Okay, so I think there is a difference. And here's what I think I'm hearing. I think that there is more warmth to the vocalists and they're not stepped back, right? So I said, you know, with the JDS Labs, it sounded back there and then the instruments are here. I would say that it's pretty much like this with the Mojo, where everything is about equal. Let me listen to that portion from 145 to 2 minutes again on the Mojo, then I'll switch to the JDS Labs immediately, and then I'll give you my impression if that is accurate. Here we go again. Fairly close call. You know, on a second listening, third, fourth, fifth listening, whatever, it wasn't really second. It sounded much closer than I did it initially. My initial impression was, boy, this sounds a lot better than that, because that sounds a little too hollow, a little bit disjointed. And then I increased the volume to about 9 o'clock on this, and I increased the volume on this, and it sounds about the same at this point. And it was strange that I heard, or I thought I heard, a very distinct difference. And typically when I hear differences, I can tell you it's a minor difference, or it's hardly a difference. This one, I thought there was a huge difference, and it turns out there isn't. It's either I was mistaken, or there was something funky going on just in that portion of the song. So it sounds fairly equal now when I turned up the volume on this just a little bit. Okay, let's go to something else. And let's try how about Chernobyl, the music from the HBO hit Chernobyl. Let's do The Door, which is the first song here, and I have the JDS Labs plugged in. So there's this horn instrument in the background, and then there's some sort of cymbals or something that it's going on the sides, both left and right of the ear cups, and that horn is slowly, just beating like a heartbeat. Very good separation of all the instruments. Great soundstage, because the cymbal instruments, or whatever that is, it's every hit is very precise. Very clean. So throughout this, the horn instruments in the background just doing this droning, and it does not interfere with the cymbals, and it's probably not cymbals, whatever it's being played. It sounds almost like it would be a cymbal, and they're on both sides, and it's just, they're beating, and every time a cymbal hits, it's like there's 3 of them, and then there's another cymbal that hits on the left side, and it feels like there's 3 of them. They're not overpowering, they have their own tonality, and the horn thing in the background is just beating away very ominously. Clean, very exceptionally clean sound. Let's switch to the Mojo. I hear zero difference between these two. I was sitting there trying to pinpoint some sort of differentiation, and I can't find one. The volume is about equal, and I can't hear any difference. Let's go. I feel like just going to one of my going to my test playlist, because I know all the songs and the intricacies of those songs. Let me find Haim. If it's not MQA, then we're just gonna have to go back to Spotify here. Haim. Find me Haim. There you go. Hello, Haim. Show me your albums. Yes, Days Are Gone. That's the one. And Nope, it's not this one. It's the other one. Show me the other one. Something to tell you. There we go. Want you back. And this is not master quality. Okay, so let's go to about, I think 5 seconds when, 5 or 20 seconds, let me find it again, where she goes and there's just this kind of crackling at the back of her throat when she goes and that letter A just hangs there for a moment. Really good, solid micro detail. Let me find it again. And I think it was 5 seconds. There we go. And it wasn't and, it was we. It wasn't and. It was the word we. And when she says the letter W, when she starts about saying the W word, W letter, it hangs at the back of her throat and it just drags out, just like this grating sound. It's really neat. So it's between 6 seconds and 7 seconds when she actually says it. Clarity is there. There is no sibilance whatsoever. There is no noise at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from 0 seconds. And for some strange reason, when I click 0, when I drag this all the way back, the playhead doesn't actually do anything. It's so weird. Spotify's a weird app. Okay, so we're going to go from 0 to 30 seconds. Then I'm going to switch the JDS Labs, go back to 0 to 30 seconds to give you my impression. Here we go. I have the Mojo currently connected. So there's two things. Okay, so first of all, I can't hear a difference once again between the Mojo and the JDS Labs. They sound tonally the same. I didn't say totally the same, I said tonally the same. But it is true, they are totally the same sound as far as I can tell. Which is excellent. That's excellent for the Mojo. But we're going to do two things. One, we're going to go back to 5 seconds where she says the we and she drags out her throat. And then we're going to skip ahead to about 25 seconds where she says the word and she drags out the letter A. What I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to the 5 second portion first, then switch to the Mojo, then tell you what I hear, and then go ahead to 25 seconds. Okay, I have the JDS Labs currently plugged in. Here we go. I think there's an ever so slight difference in her saying we the dragging out the letter W, it's a little bit, just a teeny bit more visceral on the JDS Labs. At least that's how it appears to me. Let me try it again, back and forth. Here we go, back on the JDS Labs. Yeah, it's just like teeny, about that much, like about 2 atoms worth more visceralness about that dragging of the Wii on the JDS Labs versus the Mojo. Just teeny tiny bit. Okay, do you understand how small that is? It is practically not there, but it is there. Okay, it's just a tiny amount. Again, very good for the Mojo for, you know, all reality practical purposes, no real difference, but I figured I'd point it out since I hear it. So let's move ahead to about 25 seconds if Spotify won't break down on me here. I've got the Mojo, so let's listen to the Mojo. What we're doing is listening for that dragging of the A as she says and at 25 seconds. And I'm going to switch to the JDS Labs and give you my impression. Here we go. Mojo connected. Yeah, that when she drags the A letter, when she says and at around 25 seconds, it's just a tiny bit more perceptible on the JDS Labs. The volume is about the same. In fact, I would say the Mojo is slightly higher volume than the JDS Labs. But it's hard to work with colors and shades of color when you're trying to finesse the volume. Other than that, the separation of the vocalist is exactly the same between these two. There's the primary, and then there's the 2 backup. The 2 backups tonality sounds pretty much the same. I can't really find any differences. Their delay in the backup vocalists as they sing is the same. Their tones are the same. Their frequencies are the same. I just... the positioning that they are on the soundstage is the same. So that's good. So far, the Mojo is... If you blindfolded me and you had these two connected and you were to ask me which one is which, I would not be able to tell you. To me, they would sound exactly the same, blindfolded. Let's go to... You know what? I'm going to quit out of... I'm not quit. I'm going to go to Spotify instead. And let's go to my test playlist. Listen to Flight from the City from Johan Johansson. I currently have the JDS Labs. Let's go. There's a lot of micro detail in the first 25 seconds, and I'm going to point it out to you as we play the song again. 0 to 25 seconds. Now bear with me. Pay attention to what I'm telling you, what I'm pointing out to you, and all I'm going to do is say micro detail and very quickly try to explain what I hear, so you have an understanding of what I'm listening for. Then I'm going to go back and listen to it again on the JDS and immediately switch to the Mojo. Okay, ready? So we're going back to 0, and with the JDS, I'm going to point out what the micro details are first. Here we go. Creaking. Little drop. Little buzz in the background. There's a thumping. on the keyboard. Okay, so creaking in the seat, there's like a drop, as if, have you ever heard of, when you're sitting around the house and it's all quiet and you just hear something drop? Not like a pin dropping, it's just like, it's hard to explain. It's like something is just shifting in the house. And that's just like that was the second type of sound that I heard. So the creaking in the seat, the little drop thing, the buzzing that's in the background, the electrical buzz, and then there was something else, and I forget what it was. But it doesn't matter, because I'm going to listen to it again on JDS, immediately switch to the Mojo. Here we go. Let me listen to it again with the Mojo. I can't tell the difference, guys. I can't. I really can't. I literally cannot tell a single difference between the Mojo and the JDS. The detail retrieval is the same. Now, if you had some sort of measuring rig and you happen to devise a scientific method of measuring these things, then maybe you'll find a difference. But for me, for my ears, I hear zero difference between these two. None. That's fantastic for the Mojo. I mean, it's also good for the JDS Labs because it's consistent, but that's a very, very good sign. Consistent with 3 songs if we've played already. Now let's do a test on the bass between the Mojo and the JDS Labs, which has more slam. Now, yesterday I said the Mojo has more slam than the THX. It's got a little bit of a boost on the bass frequency. So let's go to drum solo. And I'm going to increase the volume to double yellow. Remember that double yellow means something. I'm just going to skip ahead to about 1 minute into the song. Man, that sounds good. It's good, impactful bass. It's not as visceral as I've heard it before, but we're not talking about headphones, we're just talking about impactful bass. Very, very good impact, and it's good tight bass. It's not the tightest I've ever heard. Okay, so let's switch to the JDS Labs. Here we go. Okay, I think I found our first real difference. Okay, so you know what the volume is. I had to increase the volume on the Mojo to double sea blue. Sea blue? What does it look like to you? Let me magically, through the use of Mojo, increase the dimming or increase the light. Ready? Boom. Oh yeah. What does that look like? It looks like teal-ish. Bluish teal. Okay, it's bluish teal. And on the JDS Labs, it's about 11 o'clock. All right? 11 o'clock, bluish teal. Here we go. That's basically the same, right? Jesus Christ. All right. I'm going to listen to this portion again. 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds on the JDS Labs, then immediately switch to the Mojo, and I'll tell you what the difference is. Here we go. Yep, the bass on the Mojo is elevated compared to the JDS Labs. In fact, it sounds more impactful on the Mojo than it does with the JDS Labs. When comparing these two, it sounds almost like the drummer on the JDS has a bed, not even a bed sheet, like a cloth of some sort draped over the drum head, and now he's bleeding the drum head with that cloth in the middle. It's the visceralness of that drum strike is suppressed ever so slightly by the thickness of that cloth. Now, it's not that imperceptible. I think to me, it's obvious that the Mojo has more bass presence than the JDS Labs. Not only is there a little bit more warmth to the sound, but more importantly, the impact of the drum head is more visceral to me than on the JDS Labs. It's more sharp sounding, okay? So it's just a sharp hit, and it comes out stronger on the Mojo than it does on the JDS. Let's go to Kodo, and let's listen to Irodori by Kodo, and let's see if that remains the same. I currently have the Mojo. Here we go. Plugged in anyway. And I've increased it to sky blue, double sky blue, for shits and giggles. And I am increased the volume to about 1 o'clock on the JDS Labs. Here we go. This is the Mojo. Switching to the JDS. Oops. And back to the Mojo. Yeah, I think that the Mojo is more visceral with the bass than the JDS Labs. It's a little, both visceral and just ever so slightly more bass emphasis than the JDS Labs. That doesn't really mean much to me. The emphasis is not that big a difference. It's just how viscerally it comes out on the Mojo versus the JDS. And by visceral, I mean like it's that drum, that hit on the drum head. It's more ear-piercy than on the JDS. Now, some of you might say, well, I don't want ear-piercy. That's not what I mean. It's not sibilant. It's not like it's killing your ears. It's just the rapport, the rapport, when the drum hit is hit, the drum hit is hit. Let me get my mind together. When the drum head is hit, that sharp comes off more in your ear than on the JDS. And it's a noticeable amount to me. It's not worlds, leagues different, it is just different. And it's noticeable when you do an A and B test. And I was playing around with the volume here so I can try to get as close to sky blue as possible. Whatever. Let's do New Light by Kazuki. Now remember, I said yesterday that with New Light, Mojo had a hard time giving me all the details, clarity, when compared to with the THX. Now let's see how these two compare on this song. I currently have the Mojo plugged in. Here we go. Switching to the JDS Labs. So at the beginning of the song, the first 30 seconds, you will hear children playing in the background, the wind rustling, footsteps, and then there's this, it's a piano or an organ or something is playing in the background that's really the focus, and all those other things that I mentioned are micro details in the back of the song. Both of these seem to do exactly the same. And I'm not really getting all that other micro detail. I can hear the wind rustling and I can hear the kids, but they're like all the way in the back, and it's like I can barely get that out. But with the THX yesterday, there was no doubt. I could hear it, it was much clearer. With both of these two, however, Mojo and the JDS, it's practically the same thing. Now let's skip ahead to about, what is it? Minute and 45 seconds, the middle of this song. I currently have the JDS. I'm going to listen to it for 30 seconds, switch to the Mojo, and then give you my impression. Here we go. Okay, switching to the Mojo. There's no difference in the separation. There's a lot of instruments playing here. There's some string instruments, at least 2 or 3 string instruments from the way that the tonality comes across. There's a guitar, and there's that, kind of an organ or something that's playing in the background, and all of it is in a higher frequency range. But the guitar, when it strums, there's a dum, dum, like there's this low reverberation. That happens, let's say about 1 minute and 50 seconds onward. What I'm going to do is concentrate on that guitar strum and try to tell you whether there is a noticeable difference between the guitar strum on the Mojo and the JDS Labs. And this is tricky because there's a lot of stuff going on. But let's see if there is a bass boost with the Mojo when you have all this other complexity. Here we go. By the way, not a guitar, piano. So let me go back, let me rephrase everything. It's not a guitar, it's a piano. And the piano is on the lower key, it's not the higher frequency, so the lower key. Whatever that is, the bass key, that's what's being hit. Switching to the JDS. Yes, there's an ever so slight boost when that bass key is hit, just a little bit more on the Mojo than on the JDS Labs, which is consistent. The Mojo is a little bit warmer sounding than the JDS Labs. You know, it had the emphasis on the bass with the drums, and it certainly has the emphasis on the bass key on the piano. There's a bass key on the piano, right? You know, it's a lower frequency, whatever the hell that is. Those who know pianos, please do correct me. Okay, now one last test. Let's do a vocal-centric song. How about we go to When You Walk Into the Room by Vic and Gab. I currently have the JDS Labs plugged in. Very smooth tonality. That's more to the headphone than it is on the JDS Labs, but no noise, no distortion, very clean. Okay, now let's switch to the Mojo. Here we go. Exactly the same. As far as I'm concerned, I can't hear a difference in the vocal at all. Sounds good on both. There's no distortion on either. Very clean across the board. And, you know, I would say that the Mojo and the JDS Labs are vocal neutral. So mid-neutral, higher frequency, neutral. And the JDS is probably more neutral on the bass than the Mojo. The Mojo does have that kind of boost in the bass, which was prevalent on with the comparison on the THX. Okay, so let me take these off. What do I think? I think that this is a much, much closer comparison than yesterday's between the Mojo and the THX. The THX clearly is more clean, more clear, whereas the JDS is basically the same thing. It's like they took the circuitry from the JDS, put it in the Mojo, and bumped up the bass just a tiny bit. That's what I hear. So yesterday we said the THX was not a replacement, or excuse me, the Mojo was not a replacement for the THX. It's the Mojo replacement for the JDS Labs. Well, here's the thing. The volume on, it's practically the same volume. Like I was trying to bump up the volume on this to match the colors. And volume-wise, I think that the Mojo can probably get a little bit louder than the JDS. But it's hard to tell because I'm trying to figure out the color scheme here. Other than that, other than the volume and the bass boost, nothing else is different. Is this a smaller, compact version of the JDS Labs? Yeah, yes, I would say that's pretty accurate. I would say that the JDS Labs is a larger version of the Mojo without the slight bass increase. So there you go. But here's the thing. The JDS Labs is $350, whereas this is $500. You know, if you need something on the go, and this is the only amplifier DAC that you're going to get, then maybe spending the additional money, you know, the $200 more that you're spending is for the Mojo. It's up to you. But yeah, it's a closer call. Most certainly a closer call. I would cut it even. As far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much even. And the only difference that I heard with the bass is because of A and B testing. If I was blindfolded and you told me you need to pick which one is which, I would lose. I don't, you know, I would just, it'd be as if I was flipping coins, and it's a 50-50 chance. It doesn't matter. Each time it comes down, it's going to be heads or tails. You know, you have enough flips that it all comes down to 50-50, and that's how I would imagine that the comparison would go blindfolded between the Mojo and the JDS. Okay. Hopefully that is of some help. That if you're considering the JDS or the Mojo, which one? Well, you know, you can go either way, and it really just comes down to cost at that point. And if you're going either way, then it sounds as if you don't really care whether it's portable or not. It's not the driving factor, because if portability was the driving factor, then clearly the Mojo is the option. You can't run this on battery. I mean, you could theoretically rig up some sort of battery solution for the JDS, but that's not a portable. This is. So if portability was the issue, you would always pick the JDS or the Mojo over the JDS. But if you're asking yourself, do I get the JDS, which is $350, or the Mojo, then your real question is which one sounds better. And the bottom line is they sound the same, but for the Mojo have a very tiny little bit boost on the bass. Okay, good. Glad we got that over with. Thank you so much for watching and listening and commenting. And if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions about this comparison, please let me know. What we're going to do next time is, very likely, next time we're going to do a comparison between the Mojo and the 789. And we'll see. You know, it didn't do terrible with the THX. Just you know, it can't compete on the clarity with the THX. And let's see if the original, the really hyped 789, how it competes with that. Thank you again so much. Thank you for subscribing. I found out today I have 134 subscribers, I think, and that's fabulous. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for subscribing and commenting and participating in this channel, in this small community that we have. I really do appreciate all of your viewpoints and your suggestions. I hope all of you have a wonderful night. Thank you so much again. Have a great Monday evening and a good end finish to your work week. Have a good night.